Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander. Appreciate you checking out the video. I hope you like it. If you do, maybe give a subscribe to the channel, throw some likes around as you're looking around the rest of the videos. But this is High Octane, one of my favorite series that I made. It's designed to show exactly how fast my decks could possibly win a game if they had the absolute perfect setup. Now, these are just thought experiments. You're almost never going to get anything like this because it takes a lot of assumptions. You get the perfect opening 7 cards and the perfect next 10 stacked cards, give or take, and you're assuming no interaction from your opponents whatsoever. No board wipes, no counter spells, no targeted removal, nothing. They're just playing their decks. You might be taking damage from combat, but that's it. You're never going to have that. Someone's always going to have something to block with, blow up, whatever. And when I say the absolute best cards, that's within the deck that I have in terms of what I had to build the deck with. I'm sure there's probably much better cards in the all total of Magic the Gathering that could make this deck faster, do it better. And if there are, let me know in the comments if you know ways that I could get this, a couple turns earlier. Today we're looking at the third Doctor from the Doctor Who set. This one's actually going to be one of the slower high octanes because it looks like it's only going to hit and win the game on turn 6. Mainly that's because of a card draw issue, because you have to, I thought it was going to be turn 5, but then I realized I wasn't actually going to draw the cards fast enough, so I had to put an actual card draw spell in there, which slows it down just enough that it has to count. It'll be the upkeep on turn 6 most likely. But let's walk through it. And it actually, this particular win con doesn't actually really rely on the commander because it's actually a sub-win condition within the deck itself. Because that's basically the fastest way to do it within this deck. Alright, so we're going to draw for turn. And then we're going to play a forest, tapping it to a soul ring, tapping that into an arcane signet, and tapping that into a gilded goose. It's a 0/2 flyer, and when the Gilded Goose enters the battlefield, we make a food token. That's the important part. But that's all we can do on a pretty solid turn 1. We pass, goes all the way around the table, comes back to us. We draw for turn 2. Everything untaps, of course, and we're going to play an island for turn. We're going to tap the island, the forest, and the soul ring to play a Thran Dynamo. We're going to tap the Thran Dynamo into an Academy Manufacturer. It's a 1/3. If you would create a food, clue, or treasure token, instead create one of each. That is going to be very important and part of our win con. Alright, so we got 2 creatures on the field, but nothing too scary yet, but I think people are going to start to see, oh, Academy Manufacturer, that's a thing. But they're not exactly going to know what you're doing just yet. So you untap, comes around back to us. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. On turn 3, we're going to play another island. We're going to tap Thran Dynamo and a forest, one other, to play Primal Vigor. If 1 or more tokens would be created, twice that many tokens are created instead. Also works for +1/+1 counters, but we're not worried about that. We're then going to tap Arcane Signet for green, the last island, and Soul Ring to play the third Doctor. He's a 2/2 with trample, and he gets +1/+1 for each non-creature token you control, which is pretty cool. However, the really important part at this point is when he enters the battlefield, you make your choice of a clue, food, or a treasure token. However, it doesn't really matter what we pick, because the Academy Manufacturer is going to make it be all 3, and Primal Vigor is going to double it, meaning 2 of each are going to be coming in. So we now have 2 treasures, 2 clues, and we'll be up to 3 food. That's all we can do on turn 3. I think everyone's going to start to be a little scared because, the Doctor himself is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's a 9/9 with trample. And Primal Vigor and Academy Manufacturer are definitely not a combo you want to see on the board state if you're not playing them. So we pass. It goes around the table. Everyone's starting to try and hit us. Maybe we throw the Gilded Goose under the bus to block something that isn't trample or whatever, block something in the air. We can certainly use the Doctor to block because, as I said, he's up to a 9/9. Probably still taking some damage. We come back to turn 4. We untap, upkeep, draw for turn, play another forest, tapping 2 forests and the Soul Ring to play the draw spell we need, Harmonize, draw 3 cards. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to go ahead and tap Thran Dynamo for 3 mana and Arcane Signet for a green. We'll have 1 floating left over to play Fey Offerings. It's an enchantment at the beginning of each end step. If you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell, this turn you create a clue, a food, and a treasure token. We're going to crack both of them for green. We're going to use, because we still have 1 floating off of Thran Dynamo. So a green and 1 floating to play the creature Tough Cookie. It's a 2/2. When Tough Cookie enters the battlefield, you make a food token. But Academy Manufacturer says we're going to make 1 of each, and Primal Vigor says we're going to double that. So we end up making 2 treasures, making 2 more clues, and 2 more food. We're then going to use the last green to play the sorcery Many Partings. Search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and create a food token. I'm not going to actually bother shuffling and looking through just yet for the food token, or for the land, because we just care about making the food token. So once again, we make a food, but it's going to be 1 of each, and it's going to double. So we're going to make 2 more treasures, 2 more clues, and 2 more food. Now, the cool thing is, the 3rd Doctor is pretty darn powerful right now. It's a 19/19 with Trample. It's not quite lethal commander damage just yet, but it might as well be. So we could swing at something, however that would leave us open. We wouldn't have the great blocker, but you could conceivably, take someone out, especially if you'd already swung with him, because again, we're on turn 4. Swinging once with him at somebody could have been a viable option when he was already such a big, 9/9. So you could theoretically take out an opponent right now with commander damage. We're going to move to our end step, which triggers Fey Offering. We played both a creature and a non-creature spell. So we're going to make a clue token, we're going to make a food, and we're going to make a treasure. However, Academy Manufacturer is going to kick in. So with each of those, we're going to make 1 of each. So instead of making just 1, we're actually going to make 9 tokens, 3 of each thing. Because when we make the clue token, it's going to kick in and make a food and a treasure. We make the food, it's going to kick in and make a clue and a treasure, etc. So we're going to get 3 more clues, 3 more treasures, and 3 more food tokens. But with Primal Vigor, that would actually double, so it would be another 3. Another 3. Now, as you're watching this, if I'm doing the math wrong, if I'm doing the stack wrong with how those resolve, please let me know. I believe that's how it would work. Because as I said, I'm trying to take it slow. Fey Offering is going to make 1 of each. Whenever you make 1 of them, you make all 3. So that's going to be 9, and then Primal Vigor sees that and doubles it up to 18. So the 3rd Doctor is more than lethal commander damage at this point, and with Trample, he's probably going to get through most opponents. However, that's not necessarily how we win the game. We move to turn 5, we untap, we draw for turn, and then we go and tap 2 blues and 2 others to play Mechanized Production on anything really, but we'll do the foods because they have the most. Enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts of the same name, you win the game. At this point, we could swing the Doctor, who is going to be extremely huge. We even have enough mana if we still had the Gilded Goose. Probably not, because we would have used it as a blocker. But it does have pay a green and 1 other to tap it to make a food token. So we could even beef up the Doctor a little bit further, if we needed it and if we still had that. But theoretically, the Doctor could take out your 2nd opponent right now through commander damage, 10, 20, 30, 35, 36, 37. He's a 37, 37 with trample. Probably going to get through most defenses. But that you do that, we move to our end step. It goes around the table one last time. Everyone's frantic and attacking us, and we hopefully hold out. And then upkeep trigger on turn 6. It doesn't matter what we draw because mechanized production will make another food token, which would make one of each, which would double because of primal vigor. So we would be up to there, and up to there. And we win the game by having 8 or more food tokens, which we have 15 of them. So there you go. The third Doctor wins on the upkeep of turn 6. Not super impressive, not super fast, regrettably. I do love the deck. It's really fun to play. Just in normal settings, obviously not hyper perfect like this. And again, it's not perfect because there's got to be a way to speed this up. There's got to be ways, you know, perhaps in the first opening 7 cards, if you have a couple of those 0-drop artifacts that, like, taps for 3 of one color, or you sacrifice, you know, whatever, sacrifice it for 3 colors, you might be able to play things faster. But again, it's the card draw aspect of that needs it. Although, maybe not. Maybe I just need, because we are hitting 15. Point is, we're at 15 foods. We only need 8 of any one artifact to win. So we probably could have skipped a couple of those steps, like maybe not worried about Fey Offering and, you know, Tough Cookie or whatever. We might have been able to pull it off without wasting the slot for the card draw to get, you know, a bunch of those cards in our hands, and just barely squeaked by with exactly 8 foods when the upkeep hits on maybe turn 4, perhaps. And that's something I'd have to, like, go back through and try and figure out a little bit more. But regardless, it's still a fun win. It's still an impressive amount of everything on the field. You know, push comes to shove. You can crack all of the clues, use the treasures to crack the clues, draw a whole bunch of cards to look for answers if someone's trying to stop you. But there you go. High Octane, the third Doctor. Turn 6 upkeep, not super impressive, especially since some of the other High Octanes can pull it off on turn 3, but it's still, I think it's still pretty cool. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you next time.